Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, how's it going, Allistair?
Good, man. Good. I recognize your face. I've seen you before.
Yeah. So, hey everybody, we are here with the Little Mo Club. We're accompanied here today by Allistair McCaw. Many of you guys know Allistair probably from the tournaments. He does many speeches and he gives really good advice on his mental strength and mental aspect of the game. If you guys don't know Allistair, he has worked with a lot of professional tennis players, a lot of college athletes, um, as well as professional teams, Olympic medalists, and large corporations. He's been doing this for like around 25 years, and so he's very well known and very well respected. And I think this is a great opportunity to be able for kids, parents, and coaches to learn about mental strength and how important it is, and how early you should try to get your kid to understand and get good at it. So thank you guys for watching, and without further ado, let's get started. So
Hey, looking
Alistair,
forward to it.
why is developing mental strength so important? And what age would you say kids should start developing mental strength?
That's a really good question to start off with. I think mental strength can be seen in various different ways. We've maybe you've all heard of the word grit or the word resilience, which obviously means that something's difficult and you have to endure it, for example, and that's what makes mentally tough, not just mentally tough players, but mentally tough people, for example, is that usually you'll find that mentally tough people have gone through challenges, setbacks, failures, all these type of things to make them stronger. So I think that's why it's so important to understand that when you lose a match or when you fail, it's actually a great opportunity to learn something new. And that's the best approach to have things, because you're not going to win every match. Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, Serena, they didn't win every match when they were juniors. They were good, but they didn't win every match. But they learned from those things. But I think, where does mental toughness comes from? I think first of all, it comes from your parents, on how you're brought up, and obviously we can't control what parents we have. Where we don't get to choose our parents. But I think that's the first area in terms of, respect. Discipline at home is very important. These are things that make us also disciplined outside and on the tennis court, for example. So that's where the first part of mental toughness comes from. And then the second part of mental toughness comes from, learning from failure, seeing setbacks, and lost tennis matches or lost whatever sport matches you might be playing as opportunities to learn, and to face up to that. For example, we don't like to sometimes admit our mistakes, or we lose a tennis match, we just want to put it away quickly and forget about it. But those are great opportunities to learn from, and the younger you can do that, especially little Mo players, 8, 9, 10, 11, these age groups, 12, it's the best time to learn from every match, not just your wins, but from your losses as well.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. So moving on to question number 2, it says many junior tennis coaches focus on technique, then fitness, then tactics, and they leave mental strength to last. Do you think they should focus more on the mental aspect?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, two skilled players. Let's just say you were to play someone who was equally as good as you. Let's just say they were as skilled as you were. What would be the difference of who would be a winner and who would lose that match? It would probably come down to the player that had the best mental toughness, who had the best attitude, who was able to stay positive when things got tight, for example. So that's the difference between two equally skilled players, is who is more mentally stronger, who has a better attitude, especially when things aren't going well. It's very, very rarely, and this is important to understand as a junior player, that you will have the perfect match. It's very, very rare that you will play the way you want to play. You have this idea in your head of hitting aces and winners of returns and all these things, but in reality, that doesn't always happen, because tennis is a game of controllables and uncontrollables. So you can only control what you can control, but you can't control what your opponent is going to do, or you can't control how much your opponent has been working on a particular stroke in their game, for example. So let's just say, and this is very dangerous, let's just say you played somebody 6 months ago and you beat them easily, 6-1, 6-2. And now you draw them again in a tournament, right? I'm sure this has happened to you. Yeah. And you see their name again, and you think, oh, that's cool. I'm playing that person. I beat them last time. That is very, very dangerous, because you don't know how much they've improved. You don't know what they've been working on. And this is what happens to a lot of players. They go into matches expecting that they should just be 4-0 up or winning easily, because they're thinking about the time they beat them last, for example. And then all of a sudden they see that the player is better, and now the score is 4-3, or maybe they're down and they're thinking, that's not how it's supposed to happen. You know, that's how not, that I didn't play that in my head, for example. So it's very, very important to respect every opponent, to respect everybody is working just as hard as you are, for example, on your game. So, you know, that's very important. But yes, to answer your question, coaches should work on all those things. And you know what the best mental toughness strategy is? Positivity. Positivity. Positive under pressure, positive when you're winning, positive when you're losing. Positivity is that doesn't always guarantee you're going to win, but it guarantees you that you're going to have a better performance than being negative, for example. So that's very important. And you know what? Positivity is a choice. And let me ask you this: when do we need positivity the most?
I would say probably when you are when you're down in a match.
Exactly. When you're down, or you're losing, or you're not playing great, and you're disgusted with yourself, and you can't believe you're playing this bad, and I can't believe I'm losing to this guy or this girl, right? Sound familiar? Because I was a junior tennis player too. And all these things go through your head. Like, why am I playing so bad? I can't believe I'm losing to this person. I know everybody thinks the same, because I did when I was a junior player. But that's so important to remember, is that it's easy to be positive when things are going great, right? Yeah. Easy. It's easy to be happy and positive when the sun is shining. But when do we need positivity the most? And you answered the correct question there, was when things aren't going well.
Yeah, I completely agree. So moving on, it says, how should kids develop mental strength? Are there different techniques for kids, for example, 6 to 10 years old, 10 to 14, or 14 to 18 years old?
Yeah, I think what's very important to remember is that you're learning mental strength all the time. Every day you wake up presents a new challenge on how you're going to react to the unexpected, how you're going to react to people that might speak to you in a disrespectful way. All these things challenge us to respond in a certain way, and that's controllable. Remember what I spoke about, uncontrollables and controllables. You can't control the weather. You can't control your opponent. You can't control noisy people outside the court, but you can control how you're going to respond to that. Are you going to let those people bother you? Are you going to look at the weather and you know, and play the victim, for example? No, there's some things you can't change, but the one thing you can control is your attitude, for example. So building mental strength, again, as we just spoke about in the first question, is everywhere. It's in our practices. It's when we're not playing well. What are the lessons that we learn from that, and how do we want to respond to that, for example? So let me tell this to you guys. This is something that I talk about in Champion Minded, and I work with this with the very best athletes in the world, some players that have reached number 5 in the world, number 1 in the world, for example. And I ask them to choose, say, 3 things every practice. And they can be the same things all the time. So, for example, it can be self-talk, what you say to yourself, so your thoughts, okay? The second one can be body language. How important is a good body language? Because I shouldn't be able to come to the tennis court and know that you're down. right? Because you're walking like this, your head is down, you're banging your racket, then I know you're losing. And here's the thing, so does your opponent. And they're thinking, yes, I've got him, or I've got her, right? I mean, even just asking you, hypothetically, when you see your opponent has bad body language and they're tapping their racket, they're knocking their racket, you feel good, right? In a way, because you're winning them psychologically. You're going, yes, I've got him where I want him now. So don't give away poor body language. That is a sign of mental toughness, is your body language. If you're able to keep a good body language when things are going badly, when you're losing, when you're playing so bad you wish you could just dig a hole and just climb down it quickly, and you're still able to keep a good body language, a good energy, you're positive, that is mental strength. That is real mental strength right there. Because like I said before, it's easy to be mentally strong and positive when everything's going great. When you're winning 6-2, 3-love, and you're the most positive person in the world. How are you when you're 2-6, love 3 down? And you know what? Here's a secret. It's not a secret anymore. Is that the players I've seen work on this, especially before the age of 14, have a better chance of being better players later on. And maybe the goal is to go to a great college, a good college to play tennis, or if you're fortunate enough to play professional tennis one day, okay? You need to learn these things at a very, very young age, and the quicker the better.
I agree, completely agree. So it says you always, say that self-discipline and having the right attitude are extremely important, and that it should be practiced not only in sports, but of course in your everyday life. Can you please elaborate more on that?
So the question was mentally tough in sports and also life. Was that your question, Matias?
Yeah, so it was, I'll read it again. It says,
okay.
You always say self-discipline and having the right attitude are extremely important, not only in sport, but also in real life. Can you please elaborate a little bit on that?
Sure. Well, here's the thing is tennis is only one part of your life. You have school, and one day you're going to grow up and have responsibilities, and maybe, work. Oh, yeah, you're going to have to work. That's a thing in life, or work at a company, or maybe you own a company one day, or whatever it may be. And the way you are with regard to your values and your standards, time management, the way you speak to people should be respectful and with manners. Those are very, very important qualities to have later on in life, because not every tennis player is going to be a Roger Federer or a Serena.
Yeah.
It is a very, very, very small percentage, like 0.1% are going to play professional tennis, because there's so many young tennis players that want to be a professional tennis player. And then also going to college, which is a great opportunity. That's also not many people get that opportunity or that experience. So it's important to learn self-discipline on how you conduct yourself. And believe me, let's just say there's college recruiters coming to watch you. They're watching your body language. They're watching your ability to fight and come back from maybe being down. They want to see how tough you are mentally. They want to see if you're mannered, if you're respectful. Things like when you shake your opponent's hand at the net, even if you won or lost, or you felt you were cheated, or whatever it may be, you should look your opponent in the eyes and give them a firm handshake. That is an example of being a person with good values, good standards. It really, really irks me when I see young players, girls and boys, giving a weak handshake, or they just look away. Yes, you're disappointed, you lost the match, you felt they cheated a line call, all these things, but you as a person, you uphold your own standards and respect. Thank the umpire. Thank the people that organized the tournament, the people that gave up their free time on the weekend. Thank those people. That means the world to them. Those are good things. Those are good principles to have, and those involve self-disciplining yourself as well. Sport is a great thing to teach you these values and things of self-discipline.
Yeah, completely agree. So we saw that on your Instagram, Be Champion Minded. We saw that you posted, consistency is more important than perfection. Can you please go a little more in detail with that post?
Sure. You know, there's also a quote I like. It's not what you do once in a while, it's what you do every day. So let me ask you this, and this is a hypothetical question. This is not directly to you. This is to all the players and parents that are watching this right now. We all know that you can be good on your good day, and I'll bring this up again. But how good can you be on your bad day? Because Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, Tsitsipas, all these players, Serena, Halep, they also have bad days like you and me. But they don't let their bad days affect them that they just lose, or they just go, oh, you know what? I'm playing terrible today. I might as well just go home. They have won a lot of tennis matches on their bad days. And that is the sign of mental toughness again. And that is the sign of a champion, is that you can figure out how to win today or how to get through today, even though you're playing really, really bad. That is the sign of a champion, for example. So hopefully that answers the question. What was the question again, Matias? Did that answer it?
Yeah. That was a good answer. Great answer.
Thank you.
So number 6, we see a lot of kids, you know, as you were mentioning, smashing their rackets and having a hard time controlling their emotions and their frustrations. How can kids learn to deal with these emotions and to not let it, as you were saying, affect them that much?
Well, because I know there'll be some parents watching this, it all starts there. What do you allow your child to get away with? You know, all discipline starts in the home. So for me, I had to be respectful to my parents. I had to make my bed in the morning, which I still do, because I believe that self-discipline starts first thing in the morning you wake up. You know, hopefully all the kids listening to this, you make your own bed, because that's a sign of self-discipline, of making your own bed first thing in the morning. I still do it today. In fact, I've just been staying in a hotel in Orlando, which I just came back from now. And I still make my bed in the hotel every morning because I slept in that bed. So, you know, a sign of self-discipline. But yes, it starts in the home. You know, there's a great story about Bjorn Borg, that he broke a racket when he was a junior. Mm-hmm. And Bjorn Borg, if some people don't know, listening to this, he was a great champion. Probably 40 years ago, he played with John McEnroe. You know, I think Bjorn Borg won Wimbledon 5 times, so he was a great player, or French Open, one of the two. And he broke his racket when he was a junior, and his parents didn't let him play tennis for 3 months. They locked away his tennis racket. And that lesson taught him to never break a racket again in his life. Now, another great example of a disciplined player is Rafael Nadal. And, you know, there might be some Roger Federer fans here, and I'm a big Roger fan as well. And I love Rafa. I love all the players who behave well. But, you know, Rafael as well, he's never broken a racket in his life, and he's never thrown a racket in his life before. That is self-discipline. And as I mentioned before, you throwing a racket or breaking a racket just makes your opponent so happy.
Yeah.
They're thinking, yeah, I got him, or I got her. That just gives them energy. Tennis is a game of energy. the energy, the good energy is either on the other side or it's on your side. You're fighting for the energy. So are you giving away energy to your opponent through bad body language, moaning, complaining, banging your racket? For me, breaking a racket, throwing a racket is just as bad as tapping it on the ground. The fact that it didn't break, if it was an egg, it would have broken. But that is just as negative. That is just as, because it's a negative emotion. It's a negative reaction. So I think those are very important things to consider. And, you asked me a great question before there, Matias, about, what is sport discipline and sport teaches for life as well, is that people remember you as a person, not so much as a tennis player. Yes, you play good tennis, but they remember how you behave. They remember how you are on the tennis court. They remember how, if you've got manners when, you're at the tournament and how you behave. People remember those things the most.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you see these things with all these top guys, and you, like how you're saying, like you'll very rarely see any of them just kind of, lose their marbles, so. Yeah,
sometimes they do, Matias, but don't be fooled. These are professional players who have got there for a reason, because they're consistent. Remember the question you asked me about consistency is better than perfection. Perfection is unattainable. If you're trying to be perfect, well, not even Roger Federer is, even though his logo is perfect. They call him perfect.
Yeah.
Even he will admit that he's not perfect. In fact, I spoke to Roger Federer's coach 2 or 3 weeks ago on my podcast, and he speaks about some of these things as well. Is that Roger is just like you and me. He also gets upset about things, but he's able to control it, and he's had to learn that.
Yeah. So we see. Can you tell us about a real life example where you helped a pro player change his or her mindset and attitude, and how that translated into better results?
So I'm sure you all know Kevin Anderson. In fact, he was last year or the year before at Little Mo in Palm Beach. Do you remember? I think you were there.
Yeah.
So he made an appearance, and he was a player I worked with for 4 years. He was a good player, of course, but to get to that top 10, something had to change. And, he was 29 at the time, so he's not a junior or a young player anymore, so to say. And nobody can make you more positive. Nobody can make you a better player. Only you can. So, yes, he might have me and his team and the coach and other people, but at the end of the day, Kevin had to make the choice if he was going to become a better player and be more positive. And that's not easy. That's not easy, because we have all these old habits, all the things that we used to do that we do without even knowing it. Did you know that more than 60% of what you do on a daily basis is habitual? What does that mean? That means that you're not even thinking about it. It's happening. You're doing it out of habit. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the same happens on the tennis court as well. You're doing things that you're not even aware of. And that's why it's important to have a coach and to have people around you that can show you what you need to improve. And to be a good player, you need to be coachable. What does coachable mean? It means that you listen well, is that you respect what the person's saying, is that you try working on it. It's not going to be great in the beginning. It's like, Matias, and I'm sure you've done this as well. You changed something in your game. Maybe it was your grip. Maybe you changed from a single-handed backhand to a double-handed backhand, whatever it may be. At the beginning, it was ugly, right? It didn't look good. Balls were going over the fence, and you're thinking to yourself, this is never going to work.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it gets better and better and better, right?
Yeah.
That is exactly how your mind works. The mind is a skill. Like you learning how to surf, is the same as you teaching yourself to be a more positive player. It takes work. You will never be a more positive player if you don't work on being a more positive player. It just doesn't happen miraculously. Okay? If you were not to practice your serve for 6 months, would your serve get better?
No.
No. Same with your mind. If you don't train your mind, then you don't get better. You don't get mentally stronger or more positive.
Yeah.
But with Kevin, it wasn't just me, of course. It was a team of people. It requires a team to help him and show him how to be a more positive player, especially when things aren't going well. Because Kevin is a little bit of a perfectionist as well. You know, everything must be perfect, feel perfect. But he needed to learn how to control that, to understand that you will never be perfect. So you might as well let go of that. So the big thing about Kevin, and he went to number 5 in the world. He beat Roger Federer at Wimbledon with being 2 sets to love down. For me, that is massive. To beat Roger Federer at Wimbledon, being 2 sets to love down is crazy. Nobody would have put anything on that. He reached the US Open final against Rafa, and he reached the Wimbledon final against Novak, who was playing unbelievable that day. But Kevin was willing to be told by us, his team, what he needed to improve on. In fact, Kevin at practices would ask us to continually tell him, speak to him. So he wasn't like, oh, I'm so tired of hearing my coach's voices, or I'm so tired of listening to Allistair. No, he embraced it. And that's why he became a top 5 player in the world.
Got it. Yeah. So next question. During these difficult times, you know, with lockdown and all this stuff happening around the world, how would you tell kids to stay motivated?
Yeah, obviously it's very important. And I talk about this in my book, Champion Minded. And I also have an online Champion Minded course, which is great for junior players, which is on my website, allistairmccaw.com, which helps you with your mental toughness. So what was the question again, Matias?
It was, during these difficult times, how would a kid stay motivated?
Yeah. So have a vision, as in a dream, for example. You want to be a professional player, you want to go to college, whatever it may be. That's important to remember, to be out there. In fact, when I was a junior, I used to draw pictures and put them above my bed and write slogans on pieces of paper and quotes of being a champion. So I had this image that I wanted to be a champion. I wanted to be champion-minded. So I had that. But also I would just do little bits every day. So I was a junior tennis player. Obviously, we didn't have COVID or the pandemic. So this is something that's new for everybody. You're experiencing this like I am for the first time. But I would always be working on things by myself. I'd be doing strength programs at home and doing jumps and jumping rope, doing little competitions against maybe another friend. I would hit against the wall. I would love to volley against the wall to see how many times I could volley without missing. So all these small little things I would do. If I got a chance to go to a tennis court and just serve, I would take a box of balls. So to be a champion, you have to be willing to do the extra. You have to be willing to do what others don't maybe want to do. Because right now it's very challenging. We can't, be around large groups. We can't maybe be at squad practice. Right now it's pretty different all over the world. And I know everybody that's listening to this, Little Mo, it's an international tournament. And we get people from all over the world. You get players from so many different countries. In fact, it's something I love when I go to Little Mo in December here in Palm Beach and see all the flags and see the parade. It's amazing how many countries are there. It's incredible to see that. So a lot of countries right now have different restrictions. In England, they can't go to tennis clubs or be out. Here in the United States, some places allow you to go to coaching, etc. So for everybody, it's different right now. But you want to know something? This is also, and you spoke about this a lot at the beginning of this interview, this is also a great time to build mental toughness and resilience because it's not easy, but how can you discipline yourself to do a little bit of training every single day? Like I said, even just hitting against the wall, doing some eye-hand coordination speed, doing some footwork drills, you know, maybe you have a ladder, some cones, all these little things you can do by yourself.
Yeah, you can. So the next couple of questions are from an 18-year-old. His name is Stepan Gorovkin. Hopefully I said that right. He is from Russia. And he was asking if it was possible for a professional athlete to train and play while writing articles and doing YouTube videos. If his goal is to become the best player he can be, what should his schedule look like?
Yeah, obviously, and thanks for the question, Stefan. Obviously, you got to know what your priorities are. Is it making YouTube videos or whatever else, or is it becoming a professional tennis player? I think it's very important. That's a good question, is that you have structure to your day. So you plan your day, that you know that between, you know, whatever it may be, 8 and 12 o'clock is school, let's just say, or studies. 12 to 1 is lunch. Maybe 1 to 2 is working on your YouTube videos, and maybe 3 to 5 is tennis practice, or, you know, whatever your day looks like. It could be tennis practice in the morning or afternoon, whenever. But it's important to be, I think the most important thing is that you make sure the most important thing gets the most time and energy. That's the most, that's very, very important. But yes, there will be time to make YouTube videos and other things that you want to do. But, you know, if your goal is to be a professional in anything, it doesn't have to be tennis, it can be anything, then that's where most of your time should go.
Yep. So here it says as well, from Stepan too, if you feel good when your team is losing because you feel like you can step on the pitch at that moment and change the game, what should you do about it? From Stepan.
Well, I don't think you should feel good that your team isn't doing well. I think you should understand that when you're in a team, yes, it's a group of individuals, but you want the team to win. It's not about your own personal glory of going on there and, you know, changing the game. Yes, it might give you a nice feeling that you scored the winning goal or you helped them. But at the end of the day, in a team, you need your teammates. And being a great team player is about making your teammates better. It's not about you only. It's about the rest of your teammates. So if you're in a soccer game, there's 11 players on the pitch. It's about making those other 10 players on the pitch and the players on the bench better as well. That's what a great team player is. So yes, you know, it's nice to come on and score the winning goal and be the hero, but you need your team to help you. And if you want your team to win, you need to help your team win. So that's very, very important.
Yep. So here it says, the next one is for the parents. Some parents are very passionate, as you know, and they put significant pressure on the kids and are very demanding in terms of results, while others are more laid back because they don't want to put a lot of pressure in order to avoid adding to the anxiety and nervousness that they already have. There are many cases of where the demanding parents pay off, for example, Agassi, Serena, etc., but others are the opposite. What are your thoughts on this? Where's the right balance, and does it depend on the player's personality?
Balance is a very good word that you said there, because there's no guarantee that anybody is going to be a professional tennis player or professional athlete or whatever. So there's no guarantee. I've seen lots of really, really good juniors not go to play professional tennis or go to college, for example. So they were really good when they were 12, but, you know, they weren't at 16, 17. So I think what many parents have to remember is that, you know, these stories of Serena, Agassi, like you mentioned, they're outliers. What is an outlier? It's something that's, you know, you hear about the 1 or 2 that made it, but you don't hear about the million that didn't make it. So, you know, it's a pretty big gamble as well, because the journey to being a professional player is a very, very long road with a lot of obstacles, with a lot of challenges, with a lot of doubts and all these things as well. So, you know, I think the important thing for parents is that, first of all, the sport should be the child's choice. That you should love tennis. You know, it should be your choice. Maybe you don't love tennis. Maybe you prefer soccer or hockey or something different. Then the parents should respect that and let your kid play the sport that they love the most, because then they'll be happy. They'll be happier, for example. And when you're happy and when you love playing a game or a sport, you want to do it more, right?
Yeah.
And what happens when you do more? You get better, right?
Yep.
So if you're doing something you don't like or you're being forced to do, you probably won't get better because it wasn't really your choice to do it in the first place. So I think it's very important for parents to, you know, let the coach coach. Okay. For example, when you go to the dentist, you don't do the dentist's job, do you? You let the dentist fix your teeth. So find a coach that you trust and let the coach do the job. Your job as a parent is to support, encourage, discipline, because that's the parent's job, is a discipline, not necessarily the coach's job. The coach is there to give them the skills, technical ability, tactical ability, like you said earlier, the mindset as well, strategy when you're playing somebody. That's the coach's job. So I think that's very, very important to know the roles. A parent's role is to let the child choose the sport, support them, encourage them, and reward them for the right things. And what are the right things? Being champion-minded, and I know Little Mo promote these values and principles as well, is behavior. Behavior. How you act around other people, how you act at the tournament, how you behave on the tennis court. Those are the most important things, because here's the thing. If you behave well, it will give you a better chance of doing well, of doing better, right? Yeah. So if you behave poorly, it probably won't give you a better chance of succeeding. So choose the better behavior. That's important. But I always love it when parents, regardless if you win or lose, that they reward the child on the right behaviors. That yes, maybe you lost today, but you gave your best effort. You had a good body language out there, excuse me. You were competing all the time. You didn't give up. That's the right behavior. Those are the things that make me happy when I see a junior player doing win or lose. That's a champion.
Completely agree. So coming in with the last question that we have today, what is the toughest challenge to overcome at a young age?
Oh, there's many. That's a really good question. I think there can be many, and it's different for everybody, Matias. Maybe I'm going to have to ask you that question. I'm going to have to boomerang that back to you. You tell me, what's your biggest challenge been so far?
Well, I would say one of my biggest challenges has been, as you were saying before, being less of a perfectionist. I have my moments as well where a lot of when I go to practice, it's just mainly how it feels, right? So if I'm not feeling too good, sometimes I won't be as happy with myself, or my self-talk won't be that good. So I'd say it's more about, for me, trying to learn how to not dwell so much on trying to be perfect and having such a good practice, but more just on staying positive, as you were saying, to at least help boost, not bring down. I would say that's something I'm trying to work on.
That's a great answer. And you know what? I think a lot of young players that are going to be watching this right now are going to recognize those exact same things that you're feeling. So we all think we're very different to everybody else, but we all have the same challenges. We want to be a better player, a better person. We want to behave better. We want to make our parents proud. All these things, it's the same thing at the end of the day. So, I think what's just very important is be the best person you can be, not just the best player. for me, being champion-minded is about being a good person. I have more respect for a good person than a good player. In fact, when I work with professional players these days, I'm more interested in the person they are. Are they a nice person? Do they respect other people? Do they say please and thank you? You know, these small things are more important for me than a player who's ranked #1 in the world or who's famous, for example. You know, that's not important to me. So be a good person. That's what it means to be champion-minded.
Well, thank you very much, Allistair. It's been great talking to you. If you guys want to see more about Allistair, make sure to go over to his page, as he was saying earlier, allistairmccaw.com. He has a lot of books, courses, and does a lot of podcasts. So thank you so much, Allistair. This is our first Q&A session that we are doing with the Little Mo Club. So if you guys want to participate and stay up to date with future ones, please follow us at Little Mo Club, and also follow Allistair, Be Champion Minded, at Be Champion Minded. So
on Instagram. This has been a really cool interview, probably one of the best. So I look forward to our next one.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.